Okay, so my name's Stephanie, Pleasant Valley. We're going to talk about the timesheet component today for the new financial system. There's a link that's going to be sent out and or installed on some of the desktop computers here. This system, I don't know if IT is the maximum number of people is logged into it. So anybody else who tries to get in will be blocked.
That's fine.
Okay. So basically, we're going to go through access to the system is based on your network user ID and password for the Orion Air Group. If you are not physically in the office, you'll be prompted for your network credentials. There's no separate user ID and password that you have to know for your timesheet. So however you find.
Want me to go to the grocery store for you?
There's two components to this. There's the basic HTML version and the Silverlight version. We're going to walk through the Silverlight version, which I say is the prettier version, but some argue the other way around. Got the more bells and whistles. It will automatically launch when you open the website. It's going to authenticate. It's going to look at how you're logged into the network and figure out who you are. So usually when you're not dealing with projectors, when you maximize it, it will fill your screen properly. But you come to your role center, which is like your web time and expense homepage, and this is going to have your activities. If you're an employee supervisor, it's going to show you the number of your direct reports that are missing time for the current pay period. It's not going to tell you how much time they're missing because we have no idea. We're just going to say that bubble will have 4 or 1 or 2 or however many reports you have. When you click on it, it's just going to go in and say what employees have not entered time for any day in the current pay period.
I have set up another session at 3:30 at work.
Okay. And that's where it turns red. Again, when you see, when you see 8 hours here, that's the total hours that somebody has logged. That's not the total missing hours. So I see 340 because I'm logged in as an administrator. But I think Jackie's the only other person who would have a large red bubble. Any jobs where you are a project manager, you could get a funding alert, and it's going to read the jobs you were assigned to as the project manager and look at where the amount spent is at or above 75% of funding. So it's just going to tell you the job, your funding, and how much you've spent. You will only see it once it hits 75%. Notifications. Anytime an action is performed inside of web time and expense, we send a notification. We send an email to your supervisor, but they're also going to get a notification. So like in this instance, I have Robert Shaw submitted a patient request. I got an email, but because I'm his supervisor, I also got a notification here, and I can just launch his PTO request, and I can approve or reject from here. I can launch it from my email, or I can launch it here, kind of try and make sure you kill them with notifications, so they just fine, approve it. My task is if you want to do any budgeting, if you're a supervisor or even as a direct employee, you want to put some planned job numbers in your assignment, and you can assign some tasks. To be honest, I don't see this used a lot. A couple people have used it to death, but for the most part, because it's an option, so I can say, pick on this guy so much. So I'm just going to say he'll be overhead. Okay, no, he doesn't have that access code. Project performance is, again, if you're a project manager or higher role, it's going to show you the performance of your specific job. Your job, your task, your percent used, your links, any links that IT or somebody wants to put that's relevant. Again, some people will put links to company policies. It's just going to be external web links. Most important thing from here on the Role Center is going to be your PTO request.
He just got middle.
And this is just an electronic vacation authorization form.
So,
So basically, you can enter, what you're requesting, when you want to take time off, and where you're going to charge that. And when we say indirect code, you're going to say, okay, my grandmother died, I know she's, I have to go 3 days next week.
thank God.
I have grand jury duty. I'm going to be on jury duty 3 days a month for the next 18 months. Any of this stuff. Most commonly, it's going to be PTO. Notify receiver via email.
What did you
So this is going to, again, not only put a notification on my supervisor's web time and expense, but it's going to actually get them with an email.
You didn't tell me anything about it.
Finish.
Said anything to Andrew.
Doesn't like my email still.
You can get a quote over to you.
That's really all you're going to do from there.
Um,
The next thing we have in the ribbon bar is going to be the timesheet under the processes section. And NAV automatically looks at your computer's date and time to determine what pay periods it is logged into. This is important. This is important when you have people working. When you have people working in other time zones. Now, California or Denver or Arizona, that's not a major difference. But when you're talking about the Middle East, which is 8.5 to 10.5 hours ahead of you, that becomes a big deal. So when I log in on Saturday the 10th, I'm going to see this current pay period. But what Saturday the 10th is for me is really going to be Sunday the 11th for somebody in the Middle East. They're going to see a different timesheet view. They're going to see the 11th through the 24th on their timesheet view. Not to say they can't change it, but it just changes how they view things. But again, so it automatically takes my computer date timestamp and says, today is December 6th, what pay period does this fall in? Well, it falls in the pay period starting 11/27, and the 27th through the 10th, the entire pay period. If I want to go to a different pay period, I can click Change Period and just use the calendar widget. I don't need to know when my pay periods start and end. So I can just pick a date, say November 24th, and it's going to bring up that pay period starting on the 13th.
What date do you want to be?
Current. We've got indirect charge codes, which is we saw in the PTO request. This is going to be all of your fringe,
We can work on that.
non-working time, and anybody who charges G&A salaries. All of that stays in corporate.
Pretty big maintenance issues.
So anybody working on a direct billable job or an overhead job is going to see that in your direct job number field. But G&A and fringe time off is all going to be under indirect.
Citation has two options. It might even come in a little cheaper than
Okay, so the hard part, how many hours did you work? You just like a spreadsheet, plug in the number of hours. You see the little paper clips here? This is if you want to enter comments on any of your days.
They all went on vacation this week. Oh, yeah, take your case.
So,
That's good, we have to know that we're working overtime, like we're working with a specific
These comments will be available on your printed timesheet, and your supervisor will be able to see them, and finance will be able to see them. So when they do the billing, they're going to be able to see that.
I'll jump in there and help you out.
Now, here's the,
Usually.
so I know I'm working on this. I need to create a new line because I need to work on a direct billable job.
He was in
It's
Dubai.
a new line.
Train.
I look under my job number. Now, the job number list is based on security. So you will only see those jobs that you have security to access. And that's what Jackie and Tom are going through, is they're trying to iron out, work with the managers to say, okay, what jobs do people need to see? And not knowing what jobs were what, I kind of picked a couple for myself.
That's why I
I pick my job, and then I say what I'm doing, what task I'm working on that job.
yeah, right.
All right, okay, I'll make sure he's done it for you. All right,
Okay,
good
so
one.
here we get into a scenario where I'm eligible for overtime. Okay, 3 hours goes to this, and then I'm going to create a line. I worked on the halo. And so my pay type, I'm actually going to change that to overtime. So I'm going to highlight that I spent 7 hours overtime on that, for this pay period. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, what's to stop me from entering 47 hours as overtime? There's a business rule in the system that says you cannot enter overtime until you've had 40 hours of regular time. That covers you from one perspective, but because not everybody is always eligible for overtime, we don't automatically say, oh, you worked 40 hours, boom, switch everything to overtime. So this is something that the employees can identify on their timesheets, and then it's up to the approvers as well as finance to make sure you're getting all the overtime that you're eligible for, because they're going to review it again and, if necessary, make the adjustments to change it to overtime if it's in there as regular pay. Okay, there's a very important action that has to happen. It's called save. I have a very bad habit of just entering my time and clicking the red X here. Well, that force closes a web page. When you force close a web page, it doesn't prompt you to save. So then I get these nastygrams saying you didn't submit your time for yesterday. I'm like, yes, I did. And then I realized, no, I did. So I always harp on, when you make your changes in here, just save it. It's a double-edged sword on that, though, because DCAA says you have to save your time daily. But they also say if you change time that was previously saved, you have to tell us why. So now I have to go in here and I say, oh, shoot, really it was only 5 hours. I'm going to get a red X, and it says reason for change is required, because I had already saved my time. Now, the audit comments are not put on your printed timesheets. It's not something that if we use your timesheet as a backup for your customer, any comments you put on a day, like worked on POX or anything you put, any comments you enter would be on your printed copy and can be used for backup for the customers. But any audit trail comments is only used for finance if they ever have to justify a DCAA audit. So it's not actually sent to the customer. My next enhancement request is spell check in here. Okay, so now I've got this.